Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Friday, October 28th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about them and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of clarifications. Number one, this price you see over here will be moving around. And then the candlestick you see right there will also be moving around. That is because the market is still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. But all the levels I talk about will still be relevant as we head into Friday. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represent 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, Facebook, otherwise known as Meta, M-E-T-A. And as I'm sure you're aware, because it was in the headlines everywhere, got absolutely crushed today after earnings. But needless to say, Facebook, I'm just going to call it Facebook, but Facebook is a very popular stock. And when stocks like this that are popular get beat down, they can produce some very nice bounces. And that's what we have here, especially when you look at that 30-minute candle right there. You can see the bigger volume and then a nice little hammer candle here. So maybe that is some sort of leading indicator that there's going to be some sort of bounce to follow. But the level that I'd help use to make that determination is to get that trend line in play. And let me be very clear, that trend line is not a special talent. It's not a secret discovery. I assure you a lot of people have drawn that trend line. And I say all that because when a lot of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want. It can produce some very dynamic movements, especially when you have, once again, going back to this being a very popular stock. So there are no guarantees in the market, but my point here is this: is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price can get up to this trend line and get the break up through it, that break in and of itself could create additional buying pressure? Absolutely. So keep a close eye on that trend line right there. If you like to play, sometimes it could just be a very, eventful dead cat bounce that eventually rolls back over. But again, from a trading standpoint, we just need movement. So yeah, Facebook here, absolute beat down. Got a little interesting hammer candle. Let's see if it is some sort of leading indicator to maybe break up through that trend line. Next one, MULN. Been tracking this one very, very recently. And a bit of it, now let me take a step back. Big picture wise, everything is still perfectly fine. The chart actually put in another higher high today compared to, now not quite that one, but overall it continues to trend upwards. But in a very smaller sense from today, a bit disappointing because yes, this morning the price did come up, broke through that red line here that I talked about previously, and then did start to make a move, and it was looking like it was breaking out, getting continuation, and then just like that, the price has fallen back below the resistance point. So again, to reiterate, I'm not saying that therefore the entire chart is now epically destroyed. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying from a very smaller time frame that, yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointing day because it got the breakout, got what appeared to be continuation, then the price came back down. So that's just a long way of saying that 55 cents remains that very key and apparently very stubborn level of resistance, where just because the price breaks above it, you now have to offer in the question, yeah, but can the price actually stay above it? Because right here, price broke above it, but could not stay above it. So keep an eye on 55 cents as that near-term area of resistance. In terms of levels of support, two main levels to follow. Ideally, you want to see the price stay above that purple line there, 50 period moving average, valued at 52 cents. But if that level doesn't quite hold, then you still have this other area down here right around the 47 cent mark. But yeah, let's see if the price can get back above 55 cents and stay above it on Friday. Next one, AGFS, and really like this one because there's such a very straightforward pattern. So it goes back to the whole idea of self-fulfilling prophecies. Not as are many people is going to be watching this one as watching Facebook, of course not. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there is a very well-defined pattern here. So let me get that area of resistance put into play. Then we have this area of support. Let me actually change that to green to represent a support dynamic here. There we go. And then I'll just make this all the same color to make it maybe easier to see. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big explosion and the gap up, and then make it a little more visual. Put the golf hole down here, and we have ourselves a nice bull pennant pattern. So as I said, guarantees no, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price can come up to the top part of that pattern and get the breakout, that break could create additional buying pressure? That is certainly a valid thought process to have. So if you like to play bull pennants, if you like to play stocks down below the $5 range, here you go. Next one here, HTCR. I'm going to go through this very quickly because I put it strategically in the watch list because same exact premise. We have our resistance, we have our support. Now, does the pattern look the exact same? It doesn't, but the general idea remains the same. You have a bunch of people watching this, self-fulfilling prophecies, but well-defined pattern. We have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big momentum move there, we have the golf hole down here, so we have ourselves another bull pennant pattern. So just one final time, if it breaks up through there, is that a guaranteed? No, but is it valid to think that way? Absolutely. So another very, very solid bull pennant pattern. Next one, AMC, which seems to be starting to drift back. I don't want to say into oblivion, but it's starting to get a little sketchy here. And the main reason for, let me squeeze this down a little bit more, that I'm saying it's getting sketchy. Now, case in point, I did not say that the chart is destroyed, because right there you can see that the price is actually right at that trend line there. So I mean, talk about, let me change that to green, but the power of trend lines, the power of charts. I mean, by using these areas there and there, you can see did a fantastic job of forecasting that one, and then once again, as I speak, right there. But again, it's getting pretty sketchy because you got quite a bit of downwards pressure right here. But to be fair, okay, let's see if this trend line can hold. That'll be the big dynamic, the big question going into Friday. Is that trend line going to be able to hold, or is it going to fail? If it does fail, then I wouldn't totally go into full-blown panic mode, because not that far away, you do actually have that pink line there, which is the very famous 200 period moving average valued at 639. However, if the price, I'm not saying this will occur, but just to explain, if the price were to, smash through the trend line and then smash down through that 200 period moving average, that would be a big sign that the bears are not only taking back over control, but they're doing so in a pretty violent way. So keep an eye on those levels of support, and those will be definitely the main dynamics to keep an eye on for Friday. Real quickly, I want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online training event that I'm offering. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used, and why it is so powerful in building consistency, then I want you to get signed up for this free live training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching on my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you click to get signed up. Now, a little unique situation. It is genuinely a live session, and depending on when you watch this will determine a few things. So if you're like me, you got 5 kids, you got a busy schedule. I understand maybe you already have something on your calendar tonight and you can't make it. Or maybe you're just watching this Friday morning and you've completely missed it. Go ahead, drop me an email, clay@claytrader.com. And when the event's over, it'll be recorded. And after I get the recording uploaded, I would be happy to send you a link to it so that you can still watch it. So like I said, just drop me an email in either of those cases. Next one, SHOP, and very, very nice one here. And I suppose I should have put this at a different location in the watch list because same general premise here. You're going to recognize this pattern here, but you get the overall idea. So we have ourselves another bull pennant pattern. So change that to green to just try to keep things as visual as possible. But if you like higher price stocks, because I know the other bull pennants we've talked about have been much lower. Not this one is super high, but you get the idea. So we have resistance, we have support, have the big momentum move there, have our golf hole down here. So another bull pennant pattern. So let's see if the price can indeed come up here, get that break, and then create that much more upside buying pressure from those momentum traders. Next one here, TSLA Tesla. And as somebody that watches and trades Tesla almost on a daily basis, a very just bizarre day, but has shaped up a very impressive, very interesting chart because it's really just so simplistic in terms of well-defined levels. So yeah, that opening 30 minutes was crazy. And then after that, it got really anticlimactic, just chopped around in a pretty small range. So that's what I mean by kind of a weird day, because you look at that first 30 minutes and you say, wow, Tesla probably had a crazy day. Look at the first 30 minutes. And then it really wasn't, just went sideways. And like I said, has now formed some very well-defined levels. So the first area of support that I'll be watching, you got to think a lot of other people will be watching, right there at the $223 mark. Very interesting level. So you're going to have shorts watching that, saying if the price breaks, maybe pick up some puts, go short. And that's a very valid thought process to have. But you're also going to have people saying, what are you talking about? The price has bounced from there several times. I think it'll bounce. Again, another valid thought process. And that's why risk management matters, because, somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. But the common denominator here is that, yeah, that 223 mark is an interesting level. And then from the resistance standpoint, you have a trend line like there in play, which puts a breakout point right up around the 227 mark. So 227 got to be another interesting level, at least in my opinion, that I'll be watching to keep an eye on for any sort of potential breakout back to the upside. But like I said, I like Tesla for the simple reason of very well defined. So it makes sense in my mind to bring in and think that there could potentially be some of those self-fulfilling prophecies. Next one, AMD, and reminds me a whole lot of AMC actually. Let's do this because there is this uptrending trend line here overall. Now, not exactly like AMC, because AMC was literally right at the trend line, but regardless, that is going to be a level that I'd say to keep an eye on. But the more interesting dynamic is that the price right now, as I speak, is sitting right there at that pink line, which you now know is that 200 period moving average. So that's the first big question mark moving forward is, okay, is that level going to hold, or is it going to produce some sort of bounce like it has right there? If it does not hold, then as I've said, no guarantees, and we'll probably continue to say that 8 million more times, but I want to drive that home. The market makes no guarantees, but if that 200 period fails, it seems very, very likely that the price will, at minimum, go down and test that trend line, which then brings up that secondary question. What's going to happen at that point? Does the price get another bounce, or does the price break through there, which could very well open up just a whole nother floodgate of downwards pressure? So a very interesting dynamic in that regard. And especially just the fact that today, what a wild ride. Opening 30 minutes, got the breakout through those highs, went all the way up there. Some poor souls bought, and then from there has just basically bled the remainder of the day. But yeah, let's see what happens with that 200 period moving average. Next one, NVDA, which is pretty tricky to talk about from a presentation standpoint because there's really two big point of views that go into it. First off, if you're a day trader, flipper, scalper, and you're buying there or you're buying right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 20 minutes, well, then from that perspective, the chart looks really, really bad because, yeah, the price did have a pullback quite a bit today. However, if you're someone that cares about the big picture point of view, even with that pullback, let's look at where the lows have been. You have a low there, lows there, lows there, lows there, low there. And if you envision those as stair steps, what do you have? Well, in the big picture, you still do have stair steps making progress in the upwards direction. So overall, the chart is completely fine. Again, I understand if you're a day trader and you bought right there, that probably sounds crazy for me to say everything's totally fine. But again, I'm talking about things from a different reference point. So is this a bad or good looking chart? That's up to you and what your strategy was, what your goals were going into it. Because overall, the chart is still in an uptrend. And even with the bigger pullback today, which don't get me wrong, today was a nasty pullback. But think about that word, today, as in one day. Looking at multiple days, as we're seeing here, you can see that the trend is still in the upwards direction. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF, which allows you to make money if you think that the NASDAQ market as a whole is going to rise. So if you think it's going to go up, then this just allows you to participate in that at a much lower price point. But this is also why this one came down quite a bit today because QQQ, the NASDAQ, had a very rough day today. And we have ourselves another very interesting situation. And maybe you've already guessed it, but yes, all eyes on that 200 period moving average pink line, which last time the price got down there was very, very solid, had a bounce, and then actually a very nice bounce. Does that same bounce happen? Time will tell, but the common denominator here is that this is a very unique situation. That's what a watch list is all about, finding those unique, finding interesting situations and watching them and seeing if they do ultimately behave in a way that fits your strategy. So that is, if you haven't connected those dots, that's the key level of support headed into Friday at $19.75. If the price does bounce, then this is just foundational rule in charting. When levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So any sort of bounce in the upwards direction is at 21. I'm going to actually go ahead and just get rid of these lines up there as they serve their purpose for now. So those would be the main two dynamics. $21 main area of resistance if there is a bounce. That 200 period moving average key level of support. If the price does break down through there, next key overarching level of support to keep a close eye on would be down there right around that $19 mark. So yeah, all eyes on the 200 period moving average. Let's see if it holds or not. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for the free live training. But like I said, depending on your schedule, or if you just missed it because you're watching this Friday morning, go ahead, drop me an email, clay@claytrader.com. Again, CLAY, clay@claytrader.com. And it'll be, like I said, Thursday, tonight, October 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoyed this format, do two things for me. Hit the like button, leave a simple comment down below, even if it's just saying hi or telling me what you traded today. But thanks for watching. Take care. Get signed up for that class or drop me an email again, clay@claytrader.com.